Hello and welcome to another episode of Building Minnesota RØKKR. Today it's me, Ashley, aka Midnite, on the line again with Brett, our COO, and then we have Andy McNamara from Game Informer, lifelong Minnesotan, right?
No, I'm from Texas originally.
Wow, I screwed this up immediately. You said you went to high school.
I did go to high school. I've been here a long time, so it's kind of like just to...
You said you went to high school here, so I just assumed, like, yep, lifelong Minnesotan. He's been here a long time.
No, I've been
close enough.
I'm from the world.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I did 2 years in Texas, so we kind of went crisscross
Exactly.
applesauce, many years apart, but still, like, still the same vibe. Happy to have you down at the WeWork today. Shout out to the WeWork. This, I don't want to say it all the way, but this may be the final podcast episode we record in the WeWork. Not sure. That's maybe not right.
It might be.
Next week's, I plan to do it from the brand new facility with the coaches and really get a breakdown of the event weekend. That's launch event weekend coming here to Minneapolis at the Armory, the 24th through the 26th. You can get your tickets now at ROKKRtickets.gg. We're so excited about it. So I wanted to have Andy on today because, number one, we went over on your podcast.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, that was a really good time. Game Informer, if you guys, I mean, everyone knows Game Informer, first of all. If you don't, now you know.
I don't imagine there's many people listening to this podcast that don't know Game Informer, right?
Cross paths.
Yeah. If you don't know, well, now you know. It's the premier video gaming magazine. I've known of Game Informer since I was a kid. Like, I would go to GameStop. It was right there, and it always had some lit cover, and it was, like, super cool.
We did a lot of Call of Duty covers.
Did you? Okay.
We've done a lot of Call of Duty covers over the years.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've been a big part of the Call of Duty.
I think there was even at one point like an optic page in the middle.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. With Scuff, and we talked to that. We actually interviewed Heck. He was like the first. It was the first.
You guys were early though.
Yes.
It was like it was optical. It was cool, but it was before it was really cool. And you guys bit onto it right away.
I was fascinated by what was going on at Optic as I learned more about eSports and as it grew. And obviously, I think all the people involved with Optic had their own stories, including yourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That were like really fascinating to me as like that grew as like not only just a content team, but also as, the Green Wall.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was a thing to know. And they were really, I think, a first like big force, at least as far as I could tell, as far as like really getting the fans behind a brand that I saw as far as a team went. So they were super interesting to me. So, of course, interviewing him, I thought, what's going on?
Yeah.
We want to know. So we did had a great interview with him, and we.
I
also
remember the picture. It was like him, I think, at their first Optic house. He's got like a weird haircut. It's definitely like an old school picture. Ellie, I'll link you to it so you can put it up on the screen right here. But so it's a funny picture. But I feel like Game Informer has been like at the center of gaming culture. Like that's where you just go to find out like reviews, releases, news, like. What was it like? Because I just found out fully. Like I had this like innate feeling that like you've been there from the start. But your origin story with Game Informer is really interesting to me, and I kind of want to hear about it a little bit. How did you start working for Game Informer, and how did Game Informer even start?
So back in the late 80s, when you went to go look for games, you had to go to a bunch of different stores. Like one store would not carry all the games.
What?
Yeah, it was weird. So you'd be like, oh, I want to play a Capcom game. Oh, they don't carry Capcom games here. I have to go other places. So I was heavy into NES games at the time. But my friend told me, he's like, there's a new store called Funko Land that's opening out in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. And I was like, let's go. And so we went out there to that store, and I walked in, and I was blown away. I had never seen a store that had all the games in one place. And they had a help wanted sign, and I was like, really?
I want to help.
You know what I mean? And so I signed up, and I still know the guy who hired me to this day. Basically, I started working there, and I kind of quickly became the expert because I had played a lot of games. I mean, I've been playing games since I was a kid. I started playing games on on servers, right? You know what I mean? Like before, like in ASCII, like, I mean, I'm early
like
and on games.
old school, like the single joystick, like Pong. Was it that far back?
It was a terminal that we had to call in basically to, I mean, I'm talking about like Stomp the Wampum, Star Trek. These are all ASCII games, like even before Pong, like was in out there. Yeah.
So before Ashley was alive.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah,
I was born in 89. I have 80s cred. Okay, I've now officially been alive for 5 decades. That's probably wrong. 4. I'm not sure. Quick math. But like I I'm kind of from the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, like it's weird because I'm so young, but yes, it is one of those things that like I grew up literally playing games. My dad used to make games for me, like he programmed games on his Mac, and like so he'd make games that I could play.
That's so amazing.
That's really cool.
So I mean, I was there for all the systems basically, Atari 2600.
Wow.
All of them, 5200, 7800, ColecoVision, television. I mean, you name it. I was a part of that as a kid and growing up. So I was able to be an expert at this Funko Land. And then they were like, "Hey, we're thinking about starting a magazine. Would you want to work on it?" And I was like, "Yes, I would." You know, basically when I was a kid, I wanted to be a rock star or a video game journalist. And so it was like, okay, fair enough. And so I started down that path. So when they started the magazine, I started just as a reviewer. I didn't really have a staff really yet. They just had one editor. And so I was writing reviews like kind of on the side, and then I went to go help them at a CES. This is before E3. All the video game stuff was at CES. And so I
didn't even know CES was in the 90s, yeah?
Yeah, so in Chicago. So it used to be in Chicago was the one that I first went to cover video games. And then shortly after that, they hired me on to be an editorial assistant. And then within 3 years, I was editor-in-chief. I've been the editor-in-chief for over 25 years.
So what year was it actually founded?
So the magazine's first issue was fall of 91.
Okay.
So I was working there in 90.
That's
with
so awesome.
the Funko Land. Wow. So yeah, so it's been a crazy
amazing.
Trip. And so at the time, like, so NES was finishing up when I started, and Super Nintendo was kind of just coming in, and like Genesis was just taking off. So like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Did you know while this was, because I feel like maybe this is just my own selfish like timeline, but I feel like the 90s was when video games really blew up like wide scale. So did you have a feeling that was going to happen? Were you like, yeah, this is really cool, this is going to be big? Or like were you just like, I really like this, I'm going to work in it?
I mean, I felt, from the moment I started playing games as a kid, the interactivity of games blew my mind, and I was like, this is an entertainment medium that will change the world.
Wow.
Right? I mean, I was 100% in on games. Like, I very easily walked away from movies, TV. I mean, I still dabble in that stuff, but I mean, it was like far and away, games for me were next level.
Feels like your own experience every time. Your own unique experience.
Yeah, and it's just, and the thing that's been crazy that, what I never would have predicted back then is that, like, I saw things like, they come out and go like, hey, the Sega Dreamcast has the internet on it. And you're like, what? Okay. I don't know what that does.
What do you need that for?
And I remember being at an E3 where there was like, Sega had a thing in the corner. It was like, here's our World Wide Web page. And we were like, oh, cool. I mean, we literally at our office had a time where we were like, this internet thing's pretty cool. Look at all these weird things we can find. Like, we didn't understand what effect it would have on games and where they would go.
Yeah.
And the way it would change things. But we saw it all. I mean, like, I saw PlayStation launch and the way that CD-ROM changed the world. And also too, then the last 10 years, the way that like Twitch and eSports has changed the way people consume games, the way that games are shown, the way that games are made. I mean, everything has been influenced by eSports and content creators, right? How do you make things that people want to watch, not just play? Which I think is one of those things, looking back, then we never would have said, no one's going to want to watch us play games, right?
That was my initial thought. I was like, or even, like my dad was like, so they watch you play it instead of playing it. And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, well, you're kind of learning while you're watching, or it's just, it's relatable too. And maybe you're watching for the personality. It's all that.
Yeah, it is. It's all those things comes together. And I think it's a lot of, for me, at least when I watch, especially one of the reasons I like watching esports is like when you watch the professionals, you go like, I never saw that line. Like, I didn't know I should be watching that window or hiding in this corner. I mean, not that they camp, but you know what I mean? Like, that just understanding what they see and how they see it, like through their eyes to some degree, is something that you can improve your game from. And a level of, I mean, I take those lessons and I apply them when I go play.
Yeah, same. I mean, I'll be looking at a stream and I'll think, my breakout's over here, I would go over here, but now I'm watching this other perspective. Maybe I learn a new line of sight, or I pick up a different perk that person uses, and I'm like, I could apply that. And then it's, I don't know, and the community aspect too, I think is the most important part of gaming. I mean, even like through the magazine itself, did you feel like strong aspects of community as it was kind of developing? Yeah,
I mean, it's one of the things that it was back in the day. We got letters, right? You know what I mean? Which is one of the things, like, we used to get a ton of mail, right? Which was kind of crazy. And we still don't. We still get some mail. Obviously, everything comes through email now. But we still do a thing where people draw pictures on envelope art. Is that what we used to do envelope art? And we still get thousands every month of like people who draw stuff and send it to us, and it kind of is mind blowing to me that it still does that.
Gosh, like you have that much like because fan art's huge, right?
Yes,
that's so cool.
So we have a ton of it, and so it's one of those things. It's like
What do you do with it?
It's one of those things like we wish we had more people to do more with it. Like we should put every single one on like some weird Instagram where we show every single piece we get.
That would be awesome.
But we don't. We just pick the top 5 or 6 and then we just kind of run them in the magazine every month. But we get a lot, and sometimes you feel really bad because you're like, this art's not very good, but like this kid's like 4 and this is horrible. Right? You know what I mean? Like this should win something, but you got a long way to go, kid. Right?
Yeah.
If you have any cool Call of Duty ones that you don't have a home for, we have a whole facility to decorate. So
we can work on that.
Keep us in mind for some of the outtakes.
Any cool Call of Duty fan art you guys get? I mean, I'm hoping we get some up at the facility. Which, by the way, you're very much invited to come tour the new facility.
I can't wait to see it.
I know we're pretty close to you. We're pretty close to the Game Informer offices here at the WeWork, but the facility is going to be in Egan, so you're definitely invited to get a VIP walkthrough. I think we're just getting the furniture set up. I believe
I was down there today. I walked in thinking that my office wouldn't be set up or anything. I'd just set up shop at that kitchen counter area. Yeah. And sure enough, there was a desk and it was plugged in.
Whoa!
And I was like, wow, this is great.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's a great facility. We can't wait to.
Did you sit there at the light switch, like going, "This works"?
I see this. Like, hey, I've got power.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, and two for your facility, or not facility, but like headquarters, where Game Informers is headquartered. Your guys' office is it's the full culture encompassed. Like even as soon as I got up off the elevator, I was like, I knew I was going to Game Informer, but I was like, holy shit, I'm at Game Informer. Like this is like their place. And so going through your space, you guys have a lot of cool like memorabilia and everything from games of games past. And they also have this giant, you call it like the vault, right?
That's correct. We call it the vault.
They have this giant vault full of games from, it's not every single game.
So basically
is almost.
It looked like it was pretty close to every single game.
It feels like it. At one time I think we were kind of ahead of the curve of creating big collections, and then kind of eBay and everything like that got people who would really like they would make it their day job, which it was not our day job. It's got probably around 12,000 to 13,000 unique games in it.
Wow.
And it basically started, it's kind of funny, and we have the cabinets still at the office, but when Reiner and I, back in the 90s, like in 91, 92, when we were working there, we would get a game, like we were like, oh my God, we got a game in the mail. Like it was unbelievable. Like this is free.
Wow.
This is free. I can't believe this.
We got sent a game.
And so we were like, what do we do with them? It's like, well, we play them, and then I don't know, what do we do with them? So we just started keeping them, and we would put them in a cabinet. We were like, we'll just keep one of every game that comes in. It was just totally like a Bill and Ted moment where like he and I were just like, had this like, we'll do this, right?
Yeah.
And then we just kept doing it, right? And then you were like, oh, now we need 2 cabinets. Now we need a room. Oh, now we need oh my gosh, this isn't going to, and it just kept growing.
Did you have to knock down a wall to make the room bigger?
We did.
Okay,
yes.
I got that vibe when I was in there.
Did.
I was like, this is an oddly shaped room. I'm sure there was some interesting like renovations.
What I thought was really interesting, was really cool when we were out there, and I mean, a lot of it was really cool when we were out there, but when we all walked into this vault, so there were, probably 6 or 7 of us probably from our group, and a lot of different, you probably had everyone from 22, 23 up through late 30s, and you just saw like everybody just beeline for whatever they grew up with,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So like Annie and I went straight for for the old school NES and SNES, and like everybody just went right to their thing.
Yeah,
where's my favorite game from when I was 12? Like that's what I'm trying to find on this shelf.
That's a great thing about it too. And when developers come in too, it's funny, they go like, oh, I made this game. I haven't seen this game in forever. You know what I mean? Like it's true. Everyone runs to their favorite.
That's so awesome. I ran to the Grand Theft Autos because I saw it first. Yeah. But then I had to go visit the COD section, of course, too. So Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto has been my favorite for my whole life. So for you, as someone who obviously you shared like that you started gaming at a young age, I kind of like relate a lot to that. I started when I was 5 on Super Nintendo and just was super immediately enamored and like
good system to start on, by the way.
I was starting out, I was doing Donkey Kong, Mario, all of that, and I was like 5. I barely knew what was going on, but I just was drawn to it. Is it like special to you that this thing that you've been drawn to your whole life has turned into what it has now? Do you reflect on that often, or is it just kind of like, this is awesome, I'm gonna keep going?
It's a great question. It's tough. it's hard to look at your own accomplishments or anything like that, but I mean, I'm super proud of gaming, right? You know, I mean, one of those things, it's been amazing to watch it grow up and be a part of it, because you get a chance to meet so many really, really smart and passionate people, and like amazing artists and just visionaries, right? You know, and all along the way, like I was very lucky. I got to meet the guys when they worked, the original Infinity Ward team when they were working on Call of Duty.
Vince Zampella?
You
met him?
And those guys. Oh, I've talked to those guys and hung out with them many, many times.
I met Vince, and I don't want to share the story. It's bad. I asked for his autograph, and I never asked for anyone's autograph ever. Yes, I had him sign a Titanfall controller for me. Because he made Modern Warfare 2 and COD 4. It's crazy. And he's still kicking butt. And
that is the amazing thing, is that like, and I was really lucky, like even Advanced Warfare or even the first Call of Duty, I got a chance to go visit the teams early and talk to them and hear their vision straight from them, which is really fascinating. And I we even put it on the cover when we did Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Modern Warfare, the first one. We were like, this game is going to change everything.
Really?
Right? I mean, like
when COD 4 was about to come out, you knew.
Yes.
The kill streaks, the everything.
I had a trip to LA that happened where I went to go see that game, and I went and saw Avatar, which was because Ubisoft was working on Avatar as well.
Right.
I did just a kind of cryptic tweet that was like, I saw two things that are going to change entertainment, like this trip, and then like that holiday season, Call of Duty happened, and it obviously changed everything, leaving World War behind and kind of becoming a modern game. And then, of course, Avatar, became the biggest box office movie thing of all time. So, that's some cool things you get to do, right, in this industry. And so watching the change has been fascinating, and the growth of eSports for me has been great, because I've always been a sports fan, right? I've always been like, not always. I used to be a Houston Oilers fan, but I've been a Vikings fan for a long, long time now.
There you go.
And Minnesota sports.
Solid choice.
Exactly. And so, like, when you guys announced that, which I never thought we'd get a team, by the way.
Same.
I was actually going to ask that if you had heard any rumblings, because we felt like we kept that secret pretty tight.
You did.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was the thing. Maybe it's because we've been Twins fans for so long, and the Twins never get any, we never get any of the good toys, right? So, like, I'm just kind of used to, as a Minnesota sports fan, that you never get the good toys, right?
Yeah.
And so when they were like, oh, we're going to have somewhere between 7 and 12 teams, and I think maybe there were 4 teams announced. Maybe the 5th team announced for Call of Duty. You were pretty early.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, we were the 6th and 7th they announced at the same
time. Yeah, I knew it was pretty early, but
LA teams.
When they got to like 5 or 6 in, I was like, there's no way we're getting a team. And then when you guys announced, I guess it was Call of Duty North, like maybe at that point, I was like, get out. Because I thought we'd have to be in New York or LA to be a part of that. So super excited about that. And so, and I've been a big Call of Duty fan since Nade Shot kind of changed the world as far as like. It really did.
During Black Ops 2, just everything changed as far, and it's just crazy, and that's why I think like your insight is so important too. Like when I was asking you about the 90s, like did you know it was going to be big? Me going through like the Call of Duty and the eSports side of things, and Twitch coming on like at the perfect time, like watching all that happen, you're going through it and you're like, yeah, this is really cool, but you're not really fully, at least I'm not fully thinking like this is going to be huge, this is the future. Like it takes a while to kind of fully realize it as it's happening.
Yeah, and I'm curious, Andy, as you look at over the entirety of that time from the 90s to now, what are other games, or not just games, but anything that you feel like revolutionized the genre? Because I've gotten that question, and I always answer it through my lens of my personal lens, which is influenced by timing of when I was a certain age.
Yeah,
but I'd love for your perspective, having seen this entire arc.
Well, the first time I saw like someone be amazing at a game was a guy named Thor Ackerland, who was really good at Tetris. So this is like going way back, and like so this is the first time I saw someone like kind of compete or show people competing, and this is really grassroots. Like this is kind of like,
was it like a high score thing that he's competing for, or
yeah, and that's the first time I met someone, and he's just how far he could get in the game, which now I think people have gotten to the very, very end of the game since, but like he was pretty good. And I mean, as a kid, I wasn't in the industry yet. I did watch things like Pac-Man and the Pac-Man book thing happen, and like all the things as far as like competitions among Pac-Man and Space Invaders that happened at arcades.
Yeah.
Even the early like competition, which I think matters to esports, is that like when track and field came out, and like we used to go when I was a kid, we'd go to an arcade in the 70s and early 80s, and we would compete, right? And that's when something like Street Fighter happened.
Yeah.
And those tournaments were the first real tournaments that I saw. that were like taking place on site, and you'd see, swagger and screaming and, getting in people's faces that has transferred to something that we can view and see, across the whole thing. But I always knew competition was a part of it because, games at their heart have competition in them. So, it would be like, how quick can you finish Contra? How can you, there's always competition. Mm-hmm. But I think this level of it being considered a sport is new. I think it was more like that was what gaming was. The arcade was competition. But to have it go to this next level is really something I didn't see coming. And I don't even, it's interesting to think like, what is that true, like, one point where it kind of like supernovas.
Yeah.
And I tend to think, and I think Gary said that when he was here for you guys, is he was like, it's when those events happen. Like when like Drake and Ninja play Fortnite, like that's...
I still remember where I was when Drake and Ninja played. Isn't that so nerdy? Like two other guys that, I have no real connection to played a video game together. And I remember I was like it was in the optic apartments at the time. We banded together and watched. We like group party watched them play together. It's because we knew that this is one of the moments where it's getting taken to the next level. Like, people are able to take it seriously when someone as well known as Drake, or even just like now I see like a lot of like rappers or athletes who have now grown up in kind of this era where gaming was just really just everywhere and prevalent, and now it's a part of their lives, and you're not really having to like beg someone to want to play your game or play with you when they have a genuine interest in it.
Or I would even hear, like, back in the day, you'd be like, oh, Kevin Garnett likes games a lot. And you'd be like, oh, we should have Kevin Garnett come out and talk. He's like, you didn't really talk about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, people played games, but it was still like a little bit like,
who cares?
I don't know, there was some shame maybe in it to some
Yeah.
degree. And I think that's changed over time.
For
and
sure.
I think, as it's grown to be such a big industry that it is, the perception from older people has changed a lot too. A lot of people in their perception of like what games are, especially as just everyone's grown up with games and around games, and it's really changed the culture across the way. Games culture permeates in everything now, right? And so it's hard to avoid. So I always look at those kind of like those moments. And I still think Nate Shot with the guy was working at McDonald's, gets on a plane, wins $1 million. Like those are the kind of stories that change the way people perceive those kind of things. Like when I still think about those early Dota internationals where like you're like, those guys just won $6 million. You know what I mean? Like that's insane.
And now it's even like more than that. Like even like the League of Legends prize pools are just insane. And and I think like that's a big attention grabber, obviously, for somebody who doesn't really follow it. And they're like, wait, hold on, for video games? But really explaining and like having people understand that it is a sport in the sense that it is a competition, but you're also dealing with the people who are the 1% of the 1% of the 1% who are like just that skilled to be at that level. And it's really fun to watch.
But it's also been, I'm so excited for the league too, in that like, I've as you said, I got early with Optic, you know what I mean, and following them. So I was following like Crim 6 and 7 things like that. And I'd see them talk about it on Twitter, and they'd be like, I'm maybe speaking for them a little bit here, but like you could tell from what they were saying, like they were upset that like people in Dota were making $6 million and they were maybe making $30 million or $30,000 at a tournament split between the whole team, right? And these guys were skilled and they were at the top of their game, but their league wasn't there yet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it
wasn't matured all the
was just like it just wasn't there yet. And so I'm excited for these players who I think are highly skilled and learn a whole new game every year.
Yeah.
Are starting to get, I think, some of the recognition and support that Call of Duty has needed for a long time, and I think lagged behind on. I think the World League was nice, but that was a step. That was just like the kind of first step towards that.
Yeah.
I look to the new league as like the first real opportunity to take big steps forward for Call of Duty as an esport.
Yeah, and I think it's raised the, certainly the level of professionalism in terms of the resources that they have available to them.
Yeah.
And we had the guys at our new facility this afternoon, and they're going to be there every day, under the same roof. And it'll be interesting. We've talked about it on this podcast, but it'll be very interesting to see over the course of the season, where maybe half the teams in the league have players living in the same city. We certainly hope that them, playing under the same roof.
I think that matters.
Every
Yeah,
day.
I think
so. Especially with Minnesota. You know how Minnesotans are.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's one of the interesting things. As we were going through the free agency period, there were a lot of players that that simply I don't blame them for this, right? If you're
They didn't want to come to Minnesota.
Well, I'm not going to say no. I blame them for not wanting to come to Minnesota. Minnesota's awesome.
Yeah, Minnesota's amazing. They
But I
were afraid
blame,
of the weather.
Yeah, no, but I don't blame someone for saying like, look, I want to live where I want to live.
Yeah.
And I'll sign with a team that allows me to do that.
Gotcha.
But if you have that option, and a team is offering that, go for it, right? But it was important to us to have the players living here, both because we felt like it would help from a team building and camaraderie standpoint, but even just from building a fan base. And maybe it's just Minnesotans in this market, but I've lived here my whole life, or I grew up here, lived elsewhere for about 10 years, but grew up here. Love Minnesota. I don't know how you would build a fan base in this market if the players didn't live here. I feel like people would not be accepting of that.
I wouldn't. I would be like, dude, this kid flies in from LA for 6 days at a 9-month span to play his Minnesota matches with our state on his chest. I'd be like, screw that guy. You know? Well, I mean, maybe not that harsh, but I'd be like, come on now.
I may be being a little judgmental here, but I mean, it's like, having an opportunity to be a professional esports player is a big deal. And I think it's a big deal to be with your team and spend time with them outside of that. I mean, I think that stuff matters, right? I think that ability to read someone else's mind is how you go next level.
Chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important, right? So, I mean, I think anyone that doesn't want to be in the same town as the rest of their other players, I think they're putting themselves at a disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
That's my take. So, I mean, I think that I agree with you. I think it's important that you get everybody there.
I'm just as a as a sports fan in general, I've always been fascinated by different teams that take different approaches, and I'm just very interested to see over the course of the season how that makes a difference. How it plays out over the course of one season, multiple seasons. We certainly hope it and expect it to accrue to our benefit, but we'll see.
I think it's interesting I'm always fascinated by different opinions when it comes to stuff like that, because, I mean, obviously, yes, you're gaming, it's virtual, you have good internet, you can play, you can still effectively participate in the team's activities that you need from wherever, as long as you have good internet connection, which is one of the pluses to like esports and gaming. But, for what we're trying to build, if this league is going to come in, take it seriously, we have great ownership who's going to take it seriously. They're providing us this insane facility. And even like in some experiences that I've seen with team houses, they don't always work great because you're cramming them into one space all the time, and you're just, that's where
introducing
they're stuck
drama
together.
Degree,
like you need to have a way to kind of separate and do your own thing. So I think a couple of the guys share apartments, a couple of them live alone in apartments, and that's we let them choose that. Obviously, like if you want to live alone, you can. If you want to bulk up, you can.
They're on the same
apartment
house?
building. Yeah, just rent out Vikings players' houses for the house.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, they're on the same apartment building in Eagan, but they've got some of them share 2-bedroom apartments.
Yeah.
But they're such a great group of guys too, and they like no ego guys, work hard. I mean, I've been continually impressed by how hard these guys work to just perfect their craft. I mean, they want to be the best at this game, and they're willing to put in the time to do it. No different than any professional athlete or any professional at anything.
Yeah, you gotta put in time. There's for sure.
Yeah, it's been great to see, and you even see like, and I don't want to speak for other teams or other players, but I've seen some other players, and especially like ones that we participated in talking to throughout the off season. Like we talked to every player, got their perspective, but their perspective that was shared with us is now not what's ended up happening. And so with our guys, it's kind of been great to see like, they told us they're serious. We're serious about them. We bring them on. They're still serious. They didn't just say, "Oh, I got the contract. It's done. Let's go." They want to win. Sicilian Assault, they won COD Champs like a year and a half ago, and to see them still just so dedicated to the grind and wanting to like still maybe feel like they have stuff to prove. I feel like even after winning champs, they've been underrated. And I hate saying this because I feel like we end up saying this about most Minnesota sports teams, but we're hella underrated, bro.
Yeah.
And maybe that's good. Maybe that's good. So you don't go into the season with a bunch of pressure on your shoulders, but we're really excited to see where this takes us. And for you mentioning like that you've followed the COD scene for a while, you've got to be hyped up about some of the matches that are ready for next weekend, right? Like those are literally, when I saw the slate, I was like, this is all the matches that people want to see.
Oh yeah, I mean, I when I looked at the schedule and I saw Huntsman versus Empire first game on Friday, I was like, I mean, those are old teammates going at it. Like, I'm in,
yeah.
right? That's good scheduling. I think and the exciting thing for me is, as a fan, is that I think because we haven't had anybody other than scrims kind of go on, like, who knows who's good?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's all different when you get on
I
land.
think every game is going to be interesting because the people are going to watch the people play and go, this is how they're playing. It'll be the first time they kind of view in a competitive format, I think. And so there'll be people learning on the fly, teams making changes on the fly. I think it's going to be super interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I'm excited for next weekend.
You got your weekend pass all ready to go?
I don't yet, but I think we're talking to the team about
I think
trying to get
you're cordially invited.
Okay,
so
thank you.
You will get the open the back door. Just come on in, VIP, whatever.
I'm excited to come and see the games. I will be there. Like I said, I was like, I hope there's people pre-gaming. I don't know what bar's close, but I want to get down here and start talking and
especially on a Friday, because the matches start a little bit later on a Friday. So
I think it's 3 or 2, something like that. I think it's the first game.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
So we're pretty excited about it, and I think just like, just from being in Minnesota for as long as you have, and all of us, like, when you heard that not only we have a team, but the first event's coming here, were you just like?
I was blown away. I didn't think. Once again, I did not think that was going to be the answer. I thought it would start somewhere else, starting in Minnesota.
LA. It's always in LA.
And it's always in LA, or even, and I didn't know it would be at the Armory, which is a great venue, by the way, as well. So I mean, like, I think there's a lot of really cool things lined up to make this a pretty crazy weekend. I do have one question for you guys. Like, so is there like, everyone just plays a match, but is there any kind of like tournament structure to it at all?
Yes.
There's
no exact tournament structure to this weekend, but the matches that are going on, they're all predetermined, right?
Yep.
Great matchups.
Yes, a ton of them.
10 points per win. So the point system, so every team's going to play twice. So you can walk out of here with 20 points, and all those points are going to lead into seeding for the very first tournament. And so the matches, like, you're not going to like lose and be eliminated. You're still going to play your predetermined matches. I think they did a really good job, like, kind of matchmaking those. It feels like kind of like a UFC card. I don't know if you watch UFC, but watching like the fights, like, you're like, holy shit, it's going on.
There's some heavyweights in there.
Yeah, there's some heavyweight matchups in there for sure. And so we're super stoked about that. But so you're going to get points based on winning, and that point system is going to kind of start to stack up, and it's going to lead into seeding for the first tournament. And then all year throughout the league, the tournaments will be points based as well. So if you place like first, you get, was it like 30 points or 40 points?
Yeah. Yeah, you get basically the entire season. You get 10 points every match you win, and there's a bonus for winning a tournament.
Yeah. Okay.
So ultimately, there's playoffs at the end of the year, so that the tournaments on a weekly basis feed into this playoff structure at the end.
Okay, gotcha.
But for the first one, they really focused on creating. We talked about earlier, creating those really the rivalry matches, the grudge matches. I felt like that was the right way to open this league, was with those really cool matchups. And just is also a little easier from a scheduling standpoint. With 12 teams, you want them to have the even number of games across the first weekend.
A 12-team tournament is hard as hell to pull off in 3 days.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of it too.
It's a lot of games to grind through.
For sure. And you kind of want, and this is truly like this first event, it is a celebration of the league, so you want to be able to see your team play at least twice. And I think that's why, we're just so excited. We're excited to play. We're playing the Gorillas Friday night. It's a Patty P. So Pat.
Mm-hmm. I saw them when I was at the Game Awards. They were walking through the lobby. I saw the Gorillas walking through. I was like, hey, look at that. What do you know?
So Pat was on the team with Assault and Silly when they won champs, and now they're no longer. They had a rough year last year, and now they've all went their ways or whatever. So that'll be a good matchup to see. And then Sunday we play Toronto. I believe we're calling it the Battle of the North.
You guys don't. You guys are going after them as the North.
For sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, they're wrong, and they keep wrongly saying that they're more north than us. They think they represent.
We have latitude. Geography is on our side.
Yes, we're winning the geography battle, and
we may or may not have referred to them as flat Earth truthers from time to time.
Yes, all right, fair enough. I like making fun of Canadians.
Exactly. They think that Toronto is all of Canada, but really that's where all of Canada lives, because it's all just, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Toronto. Much love, but not. But yeah, so we're really excited, and we're excited to have you there. And I really am glad you came on the show today, just to kind of, talk about your genuine enthusiasm and get kind of like your timeline in gaming, because I just think it's so fascinating that you've been able to kind of really watch this thing grow. I mean, I've watched like Call of Duty and the esports side of it grow, but to watch like all of gaming as a whole grow from when you have, and to be such a, you know, intricate part of it, and Game Informer, and a thing that everyone recognizes in the gaming community, I think that's really special and so awesome. So
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. I'll talk Call of Duty whenever you want. I'm
Awesome.
down on the Call of Duty esports. So
yeah, damn. Well, maybe we'll have to record again when we have you out to the
on in
HQ.
the new
Yeah,
facility.
certainly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get I think we're gonna have our own podcast room, and it might almost have as many bells and whistles as your guys' studio. No,
That was pretty sick. I don't think we're gonna be there on day one.
Their
but
studio's pretty sick. They had like headphones and like it was
we're still
nice.
excited we got these lights.
Yeah, and they're very nice.
We look great. If you're watching on YouTube, shout out to you. Hit the like button, subscribe. If you're listening on wherever you're listening to podcasts, which, because you can, we're everywhere where podcasts are. Thanks for listening. Please give us a rating if you want to. Maybe 2 stars at least. I don't know. Out of 5. Probably like maybe a 4. I don't know. But appreciate you guys listening and watching if you are. And that's pretty much all I got. Shout out to the WeWork for having us. This may be the last one. It may be. I'm thinking.
Maybe.
I think so. Depends. Maybe.
I like being here for the history.
Yeah, you're here to like kind of mark the evolution now.
We're
It's going
decisive.
to happen.
This might be a historic last podcast at WeWork.
I think it is, because after the event, we're moved to the HQ, right? And
Maybe we'll have a special edition talking about the event between now and then.
that's true. You're right.
You guys should do one outside the armory.
Ooh, right now when it's like 0 degrees,
Yeah.
there's supposed to be 6 to 10
That'll be
inches.
that'll be a real special edition.
Supposed to be 6 to 10 inches of snow tomorrow, so we'll see. Maybe we'll be making a snowman outside the armory or
There we
something.
go.
But anyway, excited to see you guys all at the Armory next weekend. Make sure to get your tickets at rockertickets.gg. If you haven't yet, you should, because we're going to be there. All the teams in the league are going to be there. It's going to be amazing. Minneapolis, January 24th through 26th. Armory. Did I hit all the points? I think I did. Cool. Excited. So excited to go to the event and see everybody. And if you can't make it, make sure to watch from home, because we're just so excited for the matchup. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Have a great day. Bye.